Does the world really need a Paul McCartney remix album? I thought I knew the answer, but now, let's talk. My review of McCartney 3 Imagined is coming up next on Track by Track. Hey everybody, my name's Kyle and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. Thanks for tuning in today, and if this is your first time here, please take a second to click subscribe so that you won't miss future reviews and more. I have to admit, I had low expectations going into McCartney 3 Imagined. The whole idea of a remix album of Paul McCartney music was definitely questionable, and we're not talking about generally remixing songs from McCartney's vast catalog. We're talking about just the songs from last year's McCartney 3 album. I actually ended up ranking that album in my top 10 of the year. I found it surprisingly refreshing and entertaining from start to finish. Still, let's be realistic here. Just because McCartney 3 was a strong album doesn't mean the material is ideally suited for remixes or cover versions. There's probably 100 other songs in McCartney's discography that I'd pick for remakes before I'd suggest any from this album. But let's call it what it is, which is a marketing ploy. Somebody had the idea, maybe it was Paul, I don't know, but somebody had to say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a bunch of trendy contemporary acts remix or remake these songs and put it out as an album? Obviously, if you put Paul's name on anything, that alone is going to be enough to justify its existence in the music world, not to mention the tens of thousands of fans that'll buy it for that reason alone. But when we got the first two singles, I was, well, confused maybe. The Dominic Fike remake of The Kiss of Venus was flat out great. I really loved the way he reinvented the song and gave it a fresh contemporary feeling. It's a credit to McCartney's brilliance as a songwriter that a song like this can work so well in the hands of two completely different artists. On the other hand, Beck's remix of Find My Way felt utterly devoid of any of the melody or charm of Paul's original version, which was a huge letdown considering the talent involved. If Beck had covered the song instead of remixing it, would it have been better? Probably so, yes. So that was a pretty big missed opportunity. But as it turns out, those first two singles did a pretty good job representing what we could ultimately expect from the full McCartney 3 Imagined album. It's definitely a mixed bag. And with those first two singles, you may have already heard both the best and the worst of the track list. Let's talk about the remixes first. As I said, McCartney's music doesn't tend to lend itself well to dance mixes, so it's no surprise that the tracks that lean hard in that direction here don't work very well. That's especially evident on what is likely to be the most polarizing track on this collection, and that's the 11-minute remix of Deep, Deep Feeling. Here's a song that in its original version was already long and a bit meandering, though I did like the way Paul explored the themes in the piece. This new version, however, feels utterly tedious. I find it hard to believe many McCartney fans will want to sit through 11 minutes of drum machines and electronic blips and beeps. Thankfully, it's the last track on the album, so it's easy to say enough of that and just shut it off. The other remixes on McCartney 3 Imagined are, by comparison, much easier to digest and in some cases truly enjoy. Both Pretty Boys and Long-Tailed Winter Bird get remixed into the kind of hip sort of ambient sonic wallpaper you'd expect to hear as the soundtrack for your shopping experience at H&M. Both are relatively inoffensive, but at the same time, rather uninteresting. Then there's the EOB remix of Slidin', which begs to be anything but inoffensive or uninteresting. I actually liked the glam rock approach Paul took on his original version, and even wished he'd pushed it a little bit further. Ed O'Brien definitely pushes the track further, but not in the right direction. Most of the glam rock feeling from the original is gone, and instead we're left with a lot of noise and distortion. The rhythm is now pure Radiohead, as are the effects and guitar sounds. It's more than a little chaotic, and truth be told, it might have worked if it had been slowed down a little and if Ed brought in bandmate Tom York to do the vocals. Instead, the whole thing turns into a noisy mess. On the other hand, the Blood Orange remix of Deep Down actually benefits from not having a whole lot to work with in the first place. Paul's original version didn't have a whole lot going on, so this new mix actually does add some levels of interest. I'd go so far as to say this version could have worked on the original track list. That being said, there's not a whole lot going on either way, so it borders on being filler regardless. There are actually 2 remixes on this collection that do work well, very well in fact. Women and Wives was one of my least favorite songs on McCartney 3, but the new St. Vincent remix is a completely new experience. I really love how she's taken the song in a sort of Portishead direction, much darker than the original. There's a short but effective guitar solo snuck in there that's very cool, and some nice new backing vocals as well. For me, there's no question, I definitely prefer this version to the original. Then there's the Anderson .Paak remix of When Winter Comes. This was already a great song on the original track list, and the remix takes a huge risk by pushing the music in a very different direction. It's a risk that pays off handsomely. Here we have what I'd almost call a Vince Guaraldi mix, swapping the acoustic guitars for jazzy pianos. The new version pushes strongly in a 70s direction with a feeling that verges on Schoolhouse Rock. And for a song that originally had no percussion, I have to say the new drum breaks are perfect. I won't go so far as to say I prefer it to the original, as I did with St. Vincent's effort, but I will say Anderson .Paak's remix may be its equal. Really well done. As for the true remakes that make up the rest of the track list, there's only 3 cover versions, and the aforementioned Dominic Fike cover of The Kiss of Venus is not just the best of the trio, it's the best track on McCartney 3 Imagined. The other 2 covers don't reach that same level. Queens of the Stone Age frontman Josh Homme does an admirable job with Laboratory Lil. This is easily one of the corniest songs McCartney had recorded in years, and it seemed like the kind of song only he could pull off. This 70s-inspired version has a sleazy Donovan sort of vibe to it that actually works very well. I don't know if I like it, but it works. Then there's the Phoebe Bridger version of Seize the Day, which feels like a huge missed opportunity. Bridgers is one of the hottest upcoming talents in music today, so her inclusion on this project is arguably its biggest catch. That's why it's so disappointing to see her saddled with a song that feels so wrong for her aesthetic. Truth be told, her rendition sounds exactly like what you'd think a Phoebe Bridgers cover of Seize the Day would sound like. But it feels very forced and completely out of character for her. The song doesn't work well in this arrangement, and I have to wonder if she somehow got last dibs on song selection. I love Phoebe Bridgers, and her 2020 album ranked at the top of my year-end list, but this track simply doesn't work for me. So clearly this strange remix/remake project was a, well, mixed bag. I had a feeling it would be right from the outset. If anything, I thought this collection had the potential to be a train wreck. Ultimately, there's nothing on here that I'd consider to be that level of bad. There's a few tracks where I certainly question the judgment of the parties involved, but I still don't think those songs end up being total failures. Several of the remixes seem pointless and forgettable, but certainly not a crime against McCartney. On the other hand, there's actually more remixes that do work than I expected. That's a good thing because only 2 of the 3 cover versions are true successes. In any case, I'm not sure that this experiment as a whole works as a standalone release. Beyond its source material, it's far from cohesive. As a companion disc to the original album, I suppose it makes sense, and it does boast an impressive roster of talent. Still, other than a few tracks, I don't see it having much replay value. So I'm giving McCartney 3 Imagined an X rating of 5 out of 10. It's a mixed bag of music that's either better than I anticipated or not as bad as I expected. Once again, my name's Kyle, and this has been Track by Track. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, plus check out some of these other videos below that I think you might also enjoy. And of course, be sure to subscribe, because true music fans always want new releases the day they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.